Thank you for joining us again. Today we're here with Roger Nakagawa. He just wrote a paper on golf courses and their effect on the environment. We will make sure to link that so that you guys can read that when you're done. When after watching this, um, Roger, go ahead and say hi.
Hi guys.
So obviously we're doing distance with everything going on with the coronavirus 19. Um, so just a few questions, Roger, about golf courses and their impact on the environment. What to start? What led you to write about the environmental impacts on golf courses?
Well, it actually started all with a TikTok. And I talk about it a little bit for those of y'all listening in my article. Um, I was scrolling through social media and I came across this article from this guy that was getting famous on hating on golf, and naturally is, an avid golfer and someone that has played the game now for over half of his life and just absolutely adores it and loves it. Wasn't a fan. But then I read it and I was like, she's spewing a lot of false information that I feel like, I get it if you don't like golf and you want to attack some of the things in regards to, different race classes and different clashes between, classes, economic classes. But when it comes to the environment, let's get some real info out there. And especially for golf itself, how can we take better steps to better affect the environment?
Okay. And in the beginning of your paper, you come off as almost cynical of about how social media impacts society. Do you not feel like social media can spark a change in the way that we live?
I think social media, actually, I do come across cynical as that because I am. I think that the issue with social media is that it can spark a change. And I think that on one hand, it's fantastic, right? It's a great resource when we're wanting to appeal to a large body of people and kind of get them going. But the issue with that is that because everyone can post on social media has also become like a Wikipedia. Some people post like false weather reports and you look at the weather and you're, bro, it's snowing outside and you said it was going to be 70, right? But people will believe that it's going to be 70 and they'll walk outside in their shorts. So I think people on social media, part of why I'm so cynical in my article in regards to that is that number one, it's trained us to not look deeper into information. I know I've done the same thing. And number two, it's a huge responsibility when you have social media to post information that's correct if you're going to try to spark that change.
Okay. Um, so now more into golfing and impacts on the environment. Do you have any specific examples of how different courses reduce their impact on natural habitats? For example, are there courses that design around the natural landscape rather than redirecting things like streams or moving trees to a different location?
Totally, totally. Um, most golf, excuse me, recovering from sickness. That's why it's good we're distanced. Most golf courses have always had to run around streams and rivers, just because even in the older days, they didn't have the capability to move enough earth, to block a river or try to move it around it. But in regards to being able to like design around the natural landscape, there's a lot of golf courses in Colorado that are doing that now. We can take Walnut Creek Golf Preserve as a fantastic example of that, as as well as a golf course that a lot of people who love him right now. Justin Timberlake, JT, he designed one where their entire goal is to have zero waste. You know, his courses run more through the landscape, And that's kind of how golf was meant to be played. That's, all of the original golf courses back in Scotland, and we're moving more and more back towards that, which is a good sight to see.
Hmm. Good. Now, you mentioned Walnut Creek Golf Preserve, and I know you mentioned in your paper as well that the golf course has 77 wildlife species. Do you know if the course uses pesticides or fertilizers, since those would have an impact on these species?
I do. And apparently, like all these years when they painted their greens, I thought that they did, but they don't. Actually, I'm not quite sure what they do. But all the research online and then calling your superintendent as well said that it's all natural, which is kind of neat. So apparently, they don't use pesticides or fertilizers. They do use a lot of sand and a lot of water. But the water that they use, excuse me, the water that they use is recycled water. So they're not using, clean drinking water. So Walnut Creek is a prime example of a golf course really doing their best to reduce their impact.
Um, in your research, what exactly did you learn about environmental conservation that kind of makes you feel like you're educated enough to speak on it?
Well, unfortunately, I don't feel like I'm educated enough to speak about environmental conservation. I feel like, just a little bit of research isn't something that is going to allow you to speak on such a topic. I think environmental conservation is very similar to, like studying engineering or studying, medicine or business, whatever. It's a lifelong study of how to be able to affect it. And so, in my opinion, absolutely not. While I feel like I learned about how golf courses can impact the environment better in regards to environmental conservation, I can absolutely not speak on any of that. I don't know enough. I haven't put enough time in to be able to call myself anywhere near, not even expert, like anywhere near knowledgeable about that. Some of my friends are, and those are some friends that I had on for our essentially a talk show on my interview show in regards to my article. But those guys are guys that have spent years studying versus, just a couple of weeks.
And I apologize, I did misword that question. I combined two questions rather than uh, separating them as they were supposed to be. But so I asked about how golf courses kind of form to their environment. Do you have examples of what sustainability means to different courses? Um, as I know, there could be a number of takes where some golf courses just do something that's good enough, while others might go above and beyond in how they are being more sustainable. Or again, like you mentioned, using reusable water or but recycling the water rather than using clean drinking water.
They absolutely are. And, sustainability, for example, like when we're talking about Walnut Creek, right? They're doing the best they can to be absolutely 100% sustainable by all definitions possible. Are they? Of course not, but they're working towards it. Justin Timberlake's course is apparently already almost there. And I'd love to be able to look into their stuff, but it's a little more private right now because they're trying some experimental things, I guess. I don't know. Um, in regards to other courses like city courses, I'm frankly just going to call out Denver city courses down in Colorado. They're choosing to make things cheaper over the better option. It turns out that it's a lot cheaper to simply just use pesticides, fertilizers, and water the absolute living crap out of the golf course and keep it green. Because in the morning it's all wet and it's soggy, and by the end of the day, the sun dries it out, and then it's in perfect conditions in the evening, right? When you keep the course brown and pretty natural with less fertilizers, well, that takes more work. You got to have more staff to be out there in spot water. Spot water meaning there's certain areas of the course that are going to dry quicker than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's going to take more maintenance in regards to, all of a sudden you have a fungus growing on your greens. How are you going to take care of that without fertilizers? And so frankly, what's crazy is the private courses are the ones that are taking sustainability seriously. And right now it's actually the publicly owned courses, the government owned courses or government ran courses that need to do a better job of that instead of just taking the cheap route.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you today, Roger. Thank you for joining us and informing us on the topic of golf courses and their impact on the environment.
Thank you so much.